Today we have 3 pieces of trim that we need to get installed. This is the bottom piece for the front and back over our seam on the bottom, and it's just a basically a flat piece. And then the front for the diamond plate, I've got another little flat piece with just a little edge on here. We've got to get those cut and put on. Stick around, you'll see what it looks like. Alright, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the build of our teardrop trailer. Today we're going to pick up where we left off the last time. We have some trim that we need to get cut and installed on here before we can say we're totally done with the trim. But I think the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take off all of our tape off the side. So we need to trim that up around the aluminum trim. We'll give you a shot of that coming up, and yeah, let's get started. So the first thing on our agenda is to remove this tape that's around all of our trim. And I started a little bit on this side, and I think it's looking real good. So now we just got to pick up where I left off and get both sides trimmed out. Then we can install our trim piece across the front here. And then we got the 2 bottom pieces that we need to get cut and installed. So let's get out a razor knife and start trimming some goop off. So to show you how easy this sort of is, I'm going to start here on the back, just using a handheld razor blade. I'm going to put it right up against our trim, and I'm just going to gently score it. Peel this back a little bit. Just like that. We'll do that all the way around. So let me continue where I'm at, and we'll get it all the way around and take this stuff off. And just like that, we are cleaned off. So we've got a nice clean edge going all the way around. Now I just have to go back over with a little bit of solvent, take off a little bit of pencil line that's on here, and any tape residue that's stuck on there. Make that nice and clean looking. Alright, we have one more side to do. We'll get that done. Then we can start getting some trim. So the first thing I think we're going to do is go ahead and get this piece installed. And we are going to need a piece .46" right on the nose. So let's hack off a piece, pre-drill some holes, put on our ProFlex, stick it up there, get it fastened on. Then we put our insert in there. Let's get that done. Now we test fit. what we'll do is set it up here, get it pre-drilled, then we'll take it back off and put our ProFlex up here, put it back on, and we'll screw fasten it. I'm going to come up 3/16 of an inch above my diamond plate. It's just a number came out of the air. So we'll set that there. Right there. Alright, let's punch some holes. So I attached the trim with number 6 by 1 inch screws. They're tapered heads. Now we'll go ahead and install our trim and our insert, and then we'll do a little trimming on that end. But let's get this side in and then worry about the other end. And there we go. That's nice looking. Nice and sealed, nice and tight, and insert looks good on there. Now before we can peel off this plastic, we need to punch a little hole here. That's where our wires are going to come out. And I'm just going to use a little hole, small hole, to mark it. Then we can take our plastic off, and then we can put our trim on the bottom. The front will be done, and then we'll worry about the back. So to get the location of my hole, my wires come out. This is where a stud is. My wires come out and they're hanging right here. So I took a square and I set it up here on this edge, made a line, then I measured in, and it's 7 inches from center of my hole. So once I get the hole drilled, then I won't need any of these markings any longer. So let me punch that hole. Then we take that plastic off the front and see what that diamond plate looks like. So now we've got our hole. That looks nice. Cool. Well, let's get that trim on the bottom, back and front, and then we'll see what else we have to do. Yeah. Looking good. Now it should be 46 inches, just like the front. Let's see. I'll need 2 pieces at 46 inches. And we can get that up there, screw fasten it in place, press my tape in there. Oh yeah, it's going to look good. Let's get it cut and stuck. Alright, we're ready to go. I'm using number 8 by 1.25 inches screws. We'll get that up in there. Get them all lined up before I stick it, because it'll make a mess. so there it is. And I'm going to leave the tape sticking out on both sides. I don't think there's any need to trim it. It's stuck pretty good. I'll check on it every once in a while, make sure it's not peeling back, which I don't think it will. And yeah, so that's sealed. Now we just have the back to do, which will be the same process. Put it up there, pre-drill my holes, put my goop on, and put the screws to it, and we'll be done. Sweet. And the trim on the back is now installed. So I think it's all looking pretty good. Pretty smart looking. Alright, now we got one little task that I want to get done. And that is to install the fitting on the front so we can be able to plug in our 12-volt system. We'll get that installed, test everything before we move forward. Alright, so our fitting we need to drill is 3/4 of an inch. I don't have a hole saw. Well, I have a hole saw that's 3/4 of an inch, but the drill bit sticks in about 1.5 inches, and I don't want to go all the way through. So the only thing I got is a Forstner bit. It's probably not the right tool, but at the moment the best tool is whatever you got on hand. So we're going to try that and see if I can't get this in here and drill our hole. Well, that did it, and I see the wires. So now we just got to fish them out. There we go. Sweet. Unscathed. Alright, so we're going to insert the red one on the large side. We'll call that the big red. Down. And do the same on the black. Finally. All right. Let's get it sealed up. Using number 6 by 3/4 screws here. Put that there out of the way. Then we'll clean that up and then we'll test it out. And voila! So we have our little fitting installed. Pull that off, plug 12 volt in there, and we got power. So let's hook up our battery, use our other fitting here. We'll get the wires connected, plug it in, and let's see if things still work. Alright, now the big test. So I went ahead and hooked up a couple wires here. The big terminal is for the positive, black is negative. So we're going to plug that in here. And no sparks. Everything's to be alright. Let's go in here and let's kick on a light. Ooh, right on. Alright, and the fan. The thing draws some power too. Now listen to this. Good deal. So we're working. That worked. Turn that off. Turn that off. So that connection works. Good deal. Alright, a little explanation on the trim that I used for the hatch. So when I designed the trailer, I didn't design it for this type of trim. If you take a look at the picture right here, it shows the gap that I have around the hatch, which is an even gap all the way to the bottom, and that's how it's designed. There's probably about close to ½ inch gap in there. Now, the trailer was designed for a specific type of trim, which is the HT09 hinge from Vintage Technology, and you can also see that picture right there. Now, that's the type of trim that I had in mind when I first designed the trailer. It would have run down the side. I would still use the same type of gasket, and when it closed, it would seal properly. And I would also use it on the bottom edge here on the bottom of the trailer here. But when I started installing the trim, I really like the looks of this trim. Now, they don't offer the HT09 trim in black, so it would come in aluminum, silver, and I just didn't think that would look as good anyway. So I decided to go with this black trim, knowing that I would face a little bit of an issue up here on the top, being very tight. Now, they do offer another hurricane hinge, which is the HT06-01, which you can see right here. Now, that has a flat bar that on the hurricane hinge would sit on the cabin side and raise that section up. The only problem is it doesn't have the offset hinge, which would also raise the hatch to give that proper gap. So I would still have the same issue. I would still be using the HT06. So I decided to use this. What I would suggest, if you decide to use the trim that I used around the trailer, that you are going to want to, under the hurricane hinge on the cabin side, raise that up by at least somewhere 1/4, maybe 5/16 of an inch. Whether that's 2 pieces of flat bar aluminum stock, whether you get an 1/8 inch and a 1/4 inch, that will give you the clearance that you'll need for this type of hinge with the gasket, and when it closes, you'll have that nice even gap around the whole thing. Or use the trim that the trailer was designed for, which is the HT06, and it's going to be the aluminum trim that goes around the side and down here on the bottom floor of the cabin. And then you would put your gasket on top. When you close it, you'll get a nice even seal all the way around. So let me show you once again the issues that I have with this one, and how I resolve those issues, and why this is going to work, but probably not the recommended way to do it. So let me give you a shot. Alright, so number one is when the hatch closes, it presses pretty tight on this gasket right here. Matter of fact, it flattens it out, and so I resolved that by installing a smaller gasket on the inside, which is a silicone gasket, which when it compresses and releases over time, it still maintains its shape, unlike this gasket here, which over time being flattened out will take that shape of being flattened out. Not a desirable effect, but can be overcome with an additional gasket on the inside. And then the other issue that you will face if you use this type of trim is as you wrap it around here on the edge, there's going to be a ledge right here. So as you wrap it around, you're also going to have a little bit of a gap right in here. Now I overcome that by using that 3M Extreme sealing tape. Put layers under there. I'm not worried about any water coming through here, so that's how I resolved that issue, and put my gasket on the outside so when the lid closes and the additional gaskets, everything's touching, and I do have a nice seal. So if you decide to use the trim that I used around the trailer, expect to have these type of issues unless the hurricane hinge is raised up on the cabin, which is something I would highly recommend. That way it'll keep the even gap all the way around, so you're not going to compress this gasket to where it's flat, and sometime down the road it may fail. So I have to keep an eye on that. Who knows, later on I may decide to take and just cut this right here, remove this trim, and install the HT06, and then reinstall a gasket and call that good. I can always paint the trim, but it's only got a 1/4 inch leg, so it would only come down, you know, about this far. I like the looks of this trim, knowing that I was going to have an issue right here being really tight. It works for me. So I thought I'd explain that to you. At this point, I've already installed my hatch handle, and so if I raise this up, the issue I'm going to have is I'll have to relocate my holes where the hatch handles or the rods go into the side of the cabin, and I don't want to do that, not yet, but later on if I experience any issues, well, we might have to go down that road. Alright, so I thought I would owe you that explanation why I chose the trim that I chose. I really like the looks of it, and I made it work. It's going to work fine, but the trailer wasn't designed for that. It was designed for the HT06 trim, and there's also a little picture here, a diagram of what that looks like when it's installed with the extra wide T-molding and the gasket in place. And that's more desirable, so if you choose to go that route, you're going to be happy. If you choose to go this route, you're going to have to do a little trickery here just to get things to work properly, but it will work. And well, that's what I did, and that's it in a nutshell. On with the show. Alright, I think that's going to be it for this video. We've got all the trim installed, we've got everything sealed up, we've got our inserts in, and we've got power going into the trailer. And I was a little worried about that, whether or not I could get a hole in there and fish those wires out, but that worked out really well. That little socket just plugs right in, and boom, we have power, which means I'm going to have to get a battery box or something up here in the front. I do have something in mind, but it is a little spendy, and haven't brought myself to that point where I'm going to get it yet. So we have a lot of things we still need to get done, and it's getting down to where it's just the little things now. I do have the mattress, the foam arrived, we need to get that installed, and a couple of other little things that's going to make this thing pop. So if you haven't already, give the video a big thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification for the up and coming videos. You don't want to miss that. And if you haven't already researched for the plans, if you want to build your own teardrop like this, step by step, I show you how to do it. Follow the links, you'll see that, and yeah, you'll be well on your way. So until next time, please do stay tuned, and I look forward to seeing you again.